preeminent progressive psych-rock pioneers, Pink Floyd's prevalence and prominence precedes them. A pristine peak at perhaps the peak P-band of our particular epoch. The penultimate pinnacle to polish off a premium period of P-band parlance. Welcome to One Man's Tracks, the secondhand music channel, and today, to top off my year of phonetically charged retrospectives, I have the pleasure of ranking the discography of revolutionary rock band Pink Floyd. With their awesome catalog of 15 albums released between 1967 and 2014, David Gilmour, Nick Mason, Richard Wright, Roger Waters, and Syd Barrett produced incomparable contributions to the genre that continue to enthrall and inspire. Floyd is a steadfast staple whose intrepid albums are each well worth a listen for anyone looking to take a trip back through the exciting and innovative spirit and evolution of the band and the scene. But if you're just looking to get straight to the peak of the peak, then I'm here to provide a little insight into what and why I think one particular album stands above the rest. It's been quite the enjoyable ordeal, and I'm sure many of you have already gone through this process yourselves, so please do share your personal rankings with me down in the comments. Now, inevitably, I will make some people upset with this, but the entire structure of this video depends on an unstable base to build up from, so let's just get right into my least favorite Pink Floyd album, their 12th, released in 1983, The Final Cut. Roger Waters' Last Splash is an ill-fated one. This fragmented, unfinished follow-up to The Wall just listlessly rehashes anti-war themes in a way that feels mopey and preachy, and with no contributions from Wright's signature ambiance and hardly any drums, this album feels severely lacking in energy, texture, or fresh ideas. Let's just move on to number 14 on this list. This one is probably going to upset some folks, jumping back over a decade to their 1970 released Atom Heart Mother. Now, don't go having a cow, but this expansive opening journey is far too meandery and scattered. Sure, it's got orchestral and cinematic moments and groovy sections, but generally it's far too unfocused and long-winded to produce a compelling 24-minute piece. There's a Beach Boys-y harmonic ballad about a groupie, the very summary Fat Old Son, and then this strange ASMR breakfast cut that at best sort of feels like elevator rock. Maybe I need to check out a live version of the title track to understand it better. There's already, though, a big list of live performances I'll likely check out before that, though, such as those from my 13th favorite Pink Floyd record, 1969's Uma Guma. This one always seems to sit in an odd spot in my mind, because on one hand, I absolutely adore these grandiose, roving, hypnotizing live jams that the first half delivers. However, the totally disjointed, individual-focused second half is maybe the most tedious listen of the band's entire discography. I mean, there are some interesting moments, but overall, the lack of band cohesion on this one makes it not even feel like Pink Floyd. On to number 12, with a record that sees the band trying to regain their footing and patch up the wrecking ball-sized hole that Waters left on his way out. It's their 1987 A Momentary Lapse of Reason. A melancholic space rock record that feels pretty basic for Floyd standards and tends to drag a little bit. Maybe it's the reverby production overstretching everything, but the moody, droning numbers just never seem to gain momentum, turning sentimental anthems into lumbering labors of longing. At number 11, I've placed their 1972 release, Obscured by Clouds. Impressively, but also unfortunately true to its name, it's drifty in a very fleeting way. This one is far too frictionless and detached for my tastes. Every time I seem to lock into a track, it's either far too short lived or just finds a way to indifferently shrug me off and casually float away like a forgotten helium balloon on the breeze. I still do quite enjoy the grounded composition of Childhood's End, and what's not to love about the highway rockin' kick ass groove of Gold It's in the, as well as the drifty instrumental of the title track that unfortunately kind of outshines the rest of this album's roaming, lethargic numbers. Next up is a soundtrack album whose concept actually fully came to fruition in the form of a movie released in 1969, More. It's music from the film More. This trippy, atmospheric, mostly instrumental LP complements the film's gritty, disillusioned depiction of the slippery slope of sex, drugs, and a little rock and roll. It kicks off with some groovy, yearning numbers, then sliding towards a more spacious atmosphere, then turning quite creeping and ominous near the end. It is a bit of a mixed bag of songs that accompany the film quite well, might even be the best part of the film. However, outside of that context, only the Nile song and Cymbeline really stand out as particularly remarkable tracks. In ninth place, it's the band's tribute to their late great keyboardist Rich Wright, made up of mostly extras from their previous recording sessions released in 2014. Pink Floyd's final album, The Endless River. Again, an album maybe lacking in fresh ideas, but in a so much more heartening way. This touching, largely instrumental saga is like the echoes of a band paying tribute to themselves. Sweet, dreamy reflections that reverberate from the past and drift off into the unknown, finally putting to rest a monolithic group once and for all. We've reached the point in this list where all the rest of these are fairly essential listens for any inquisitive music mind. Definitive, foundational psych and prog rock albums that molded many a budding musician. 8 more excellent chapters in this group's awe-inspiring sonic storybook. Let's go all the way back to the beginning for the 8th best Pink Floyd project. Their very first LP, released back in 1967, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. This splendid debut's jaunty, psychedelic rockin', accompanied by Syd Barrett's trilly, sing-speaky surrealism, makes for such a delightful trip to the past. Loose, youthful, creative expressions that uplift with their airy, at times chaotic, spectral atmospherics. Just wonderfully freak-funky grooves that provide a lovely insight into their impetus and to the immediate cult attraction that these guys had right from the jump. Crossing just over the middle of this incredible discography, we've reached number 7. It's the 6th in their catalog, released in 1971. Metal. With Waters taking on the role of primary songwriter, this record feels like they're gently drifting into a new musical dynamic. In simple terms, from a playful, experimental psych band to a more self-serious, virtuistic prog band. An oversimplification, sure, and it is a transition that does feel a tad disorganized at times, but besides the blues rock mess that is Seamus, The individual tracks here are all quite strong. It just doesn't come together as that cohesive of an album experience. By the time you reach Echoes, that shift feels complete and those seeds of greatness to come have been sown. This inspired over 20-minute experimental epics, exciting transitions, whirling riffs, and captivating ambiance have the building blocks that this band would refine to perfection in the following years. In sixth, I'd like to highlight a feat that very few bands achieve with their 14th album. A rock solid send off that still stands among some of their greatest works. 1994's The Division Bell, a record that well encompasses the ethos of Pink Floyd, the patience, the rambling emotional strings striking cinematic chords, a return to their strengths to form a fitting grand finale for an iconic band. Although it may drift into dreariness and nostalgia a bit, I think you'll leave this one with high hopes. At number 5 is my favorite of their early works, David Gilmour's Foire and Syd Barrett's Last, thus the only Floyd album to include all 5 members. It's 1968's A Saucer Full of Secrets. From side 1 with Let There Be More Light's powerful droning bass line into the haunting reverberations of Remember a Day, the trancy, pointed storytelling of Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun, and the cheeky military takedown of Corporal Clegg. Flipping over to the totally tripped out title track, the psychedelic cool off of Seesaw, the sorrowful, self aware fanfare of Jug Band Blues rolling out as a sort of farewell to Sid. There really isn't a weak spot on this relatively concise project as far as these spacey rock fantasies go. Top 4 time, the cream of the crop. Truly transformative album experiences, proper conceptual masterclasses, and all released within a 7-year span to create one of the greatest 4 album runs ever. Genre defining works of progressive rock brilliance. And I'm supposed to pick favorites? Alright, if I have to, I guess I'll put their Orwellian inspired class clash 1977's Animals at number 4. A moving 3-part suite about overthrowing the socio-economic power structure with a good old-fashioned proletariat uprising. The worn and weary, steady foreboding rhythm of dogs, the sizzling, indignant strut of pigs and sheep's righteous, steaming stampede, all sandwiched between 2 pieces of a sweet, soft, unifying acoustic love song that helps to ease us in and out of that dramatic, animalistic center. In third, it feels like a bit of a short sell for such an impactful, illustrious record, but I guess this is Pink Floyd we're talking about here. This shit's all pretty incomparable. I'm probably already breaking a few musical laws by ranking them all, so whatever, let's just keep going and get right into their 1973 classic, The Dark Side of the Moon. This experimental, ethereal, psych-rock masterpiece was somehow just the beginning of this incredible, otherworldly run of records. This sinfully aspiring legend breaks down many modern anxieties with a delectable and undeniable groove. I don't think there's any amount of money, hell, not even my own brain damage can stop me from endlessly bopping and shouting along to these totally intoxicating, soul-stirring, timeless bangers. I'll keep breathing in the air, playing any color I like until my great gig in the sky. At number 2, we have possibly the penultimate concept album, sending off an absolutely amazing decade of progressing rock music with a show-stopping epic. 1979's The Wall. A rousing, nearly seamless hour and 20-minute contemplatory chronicle, The Wall stands firmly as an enduring symbol of conflict between alienating emotional boundaries and life's bittersweet impermanence. Expertly and artfully executed, a captivating show, a first class collision of vision and realization, further cementing this dynamic band as icons of an era. I suppose since it isn't my number one, I should state that the isolated center can feel a tad theatrically overstated at times, but it's still all worthwhile in the grander scheme of the album. Number 1, my favorite Pink Floyd album ever is Wish You Were Here. 50 years ago, these immaculate maestros produced one of the most stunning musical tributes ever in the form of the song Shine On You Crazy Diamond. This band speaks words to emotions, but not just with their touching lyricism, but their instruments delivering them with an uncompromising gravitas and gusto so invigorating that it consistently takes my breath away. An ambitious monument to the ephemeral art of rock, an ever-relevant psyche-cutting, enrapturing adventure, a pivotal part of my enduring love for music. Wish You Were Here is a truly mind-altering record, and for that, I'll love it and Pink Floyd always. I'm forever hooked and might never get enough, so I'd really appreciate any live listening suggestions outside of the obvious. Otherwise, there you have it. One man's tracks, Pink Floyd, worst to best, P-Band finale. Go check out and recommend me some of your favorite P-Bands over here, and you can see all the other discographies I've ranked if you click here. Thank you very much, and shine on, you crazy diamonds.